Working from home can seem like quite the blessing at first, but the thing that most of my friends and family have been saying now that they are working from home for the first time is that they are feeling very unproductive. And I want to address that in this video because I have been working from home for over 5 years currently. Currently I work for the company ConvertKit, and I've been working there for about 3 years. Before that, I owned my own business. So I wanted to give you all the different tips that I've come up with so you can feel productive and be productive while you are working from home, which should lower your stress, lower your anxiety, and allow you to get through this difficult time a little bit easier. One thing I'm not going to be covering in this video is a lot of the other tips that many other people have talked about, such as make sure that you get up and you get dressed and you take a shower, make sure that you have your coffee or your tea, all sorts of just random things that everyone essentially knows. I want to cover some of the things that people don't know or things that I have tried that have really worked for me. So let's go ahead and dive in with tip number 1. I discovered tip number 1 a few years ago when I felt particularly unproductive at work. I just found that even though I was working 8, 9, sometimes 10 hours, I would feel like I didn't get anything significant done. And so I'd really beat myself up and make myself feel guilty, which would make me want to work even longer. And then I came up with this system which essentially eliminated that completely. So what is the system? That system is coming up with a list in the beginning of the day of the bare minimum things that you need to get done in order to feel like you've had a good, accomplished day. And most of the times when I wrote down this list, when it comes to the bare minimum, there was usually only 5 or 6 things that I would write down. And usually most of the time, if I have that list, it would keep me focused, and the majority of the time I would pound out that entire list by noon, by lunchtime. And so then the rest of the afternoon I was able to focus on anything extra, which would really allow me to feel super accomplished at the end of the day. Now, tip number 2 might be something that other people cover, and I know I said I wasn't going to do that, but it's so important, especially when it comes to feeling more productive, that I think it's important that you know about it. So what is tip number 2? And that is taking breaks. And I know this is counterintuitive. Why would taking a break make you feel more productive? Well, if you know that you're going to take 2 breaks during the day, and that's what I recommend, at least 2 15-minute breaks plus a lunch in the middle of your day, you are going to make sure that you get things done before you take your break. If you know, okay, I'm taking a break in 2 hours, then I need to make sure I get X, Y, and Z done before I can take that break, because if I don't get it done, then I'm going to feel like I'm behind in some way. So it's also one of those things that helps focus you. And then during your break, I highly recommend just getting away from your computer, away from your desk, away from your home office like I'm in right now, and going to do something completely different. In my case, it is going to visit my spouse, who is also working from home in this kind of day and age. But it can be really anything else as long as you get away from your work environment. And if you can, leave your phone away. Leave your phone at your desk unless you want to like play on Instagram or something, which I sometimes do. Tip number 3 involves connecting with your higher ups, with your manager, with your boss, and talking with them very candidly and figuring out how they measure productivity, kind of what things you need to check in your to-do list in order for them to think that you're doing a really good job at your work. And I find not a lot of people do this, but if you can have a candid conversation with your boss and be like, hey, what are the things that you need me to do in order for you to think that I'm doing a really stellar job? Like what are the kind of the core items that I need to accomplish? And if you can have that candid conversation, I find that one, you'll be surprised at what your boss expects of you and also doesn't expect of you. You might have a lot of responsibilities on your plate that you think that the boss really cares about, but really it's a very low priority for them. And so if you can get some clarity there, it will allow you to focus on the things that are going to really move the needle for your manager, and which should in turn allow you to feel productive and allow you to know that you're doing a good job and that there's no danger of getting fired or anything like that. My final tip to be productive is to have some sort of shutdown routine when it comes to your working day. And this is especially important if you're new to working from home, because when you work from home, a lot of times you can just kind of work all of the time if you allow yourself to. Getting online and like clocking in is really just a couple clicks away, and so you want to avoid doing that if you can, or just checking some emails briefly and then you get sucked in and it's just, it's not good. And you also don't want to have that feeling in the back of your mind like you're forgetting something at work, or that you just need to log in for a second to check something. And that's why this nightly shutdown routine or end of the day shutdown routine is really important. And usually what I do during my shutdown routine is I will come up with the list of the bare minimum items I need to get done the next day, and I'll write them down in my bullet journal, which I have right over here, which I keep at my desk all the time. And then I will check my emails, check Basecamp, check Slack, make sure that all of the particular channels that I'm in, I've addressed everything that needs to get done, and my next day is planned. And once all that is done, then I can feel free to get up, I can log out from all of those different softwares, those different apps, and then I can do something else. And the routine that I'm doing right now, based on all this quarantine stuff, is me and my wife are going for a walk, or at least we're trying to go for walks most of the time when we're off work, because it's just a good way to completely disengage and just to get yourself physically out of the house and to transition from work time to playtime. And that's the best advice that I can give. And if you really do even a couple of the things that I've mentioned here on this list, chances are you're going to feel a lot better and a lot more productive. But if you have some tips that you want to share about feeling more productive, especially when you're working from home, please write them in the comments down below. Write down your number one best tip, because I want to learn from you too, because that's the whole point of this this whole Brilliant Side project. And if you want to find out more about me and what I'm doing, you can check out my podcast. It's called Shut Up Brain. You can check it out on Spotify or iTunes, or some of the other videos on this channel. And so until I catch you next time, see you later, action taker.